flying spaghetti monster. I certainly hoped Fergus never decided to start a cult. He could definitely convince more than a handful of people to join him. For some reason, I was immune to his poorly evidenced arguments. Perhaps that made me devoid of imagination. Fergus thought so, but I believed it meant I was his perfect antidote. Whenever he got carried away, I'd be there to bring him back to reality. I just couldn't say the same for the course attendees. When we'd left, I'd silently vowed to never ever go on a course with Fergus again. It might sound hard to believe after all of that, but I missed Fergus and was pleased by the prospect of a visit. It was yet another thing that I couldn't entirely put my finger on, but we'd become fast friends. Since the birth of my new business and the drift away from old school friends and colleagues, I would even go so far as to say that Fergus had become my best friend. It was that which made me smile when I opened the door, expecting to see his face looking back at me. "George," I said, my smile falling off faster than melted butter on a corn on the cob. My ex-boyfriend was standing on my doorstep. "Diana," he echoed, minus the surprised exclamation. To be fair, he'd probably known that I would be the one answering my own door. What I couldn't figure out was how he knew that I lived here, or why he would come for a visit. "What are you doing here?" I was immediately on my guard. George and I hadn't left things in the best of states when our relationship had come to an end. He'd called me a workaholic, and I'd called him a cheater. Both of these claims could be substantiated by evidence, but this had been one incident where evidence only makes things worse. "I wanted to see you," he said, looking wistfully into my eyes. What the heck was going on? George didn't do wistful. "Why? And how did you even find me?" Since breaking up with George, I'd moved back to the village I'd grown up in, started a job at a local laboratory, quit that job and started my own cut flower business in the property I'd been given in a will, and then moved for a second time to my current house. Even I struggled to keep up sometimes. It was surely nothing short of a miracle that George had been able to trace me here. "I met your mother in Merrifield," he confessed, looking abashed for the first time. That much at least made sense. My mother had always been in favour of my relationship with George. It had fitted in nicely with her plan to push me towards a solid career that would end when I found an equally solid man and settled down to produce the next generation. Currently, I wasn't on track for any of those things. As to why I am here, George cleared his throat, not looking any more comfortable. I wanted to ask if you would consider taking me back. In a relationship, I mean. I stared at him. For a second, my hand tensed on the edge of the door, ready to slam it in his face. But I stopped myself, if only for old time's sake. No, thank you. I was surprising myself with my politeness today. Why not? Your mother said you were still single. He looked genuinely puzzled. I noticed the way he'd emphasized the word still. I probably had my mother to thank for that, too. Let's see. You hated that I was promoted above you, and to get me back for it, you decided to go behind my back with another woman. And then, on top of that, you were the one who broke things off with me. I hated to admit it, but it was true. I'd probably have been happy enough to string along behind George for several years to come, if he hadn't finished our relationship. It wasn't something I was particularly proud of, but George had been like a comfort blanket you didn't want to let go of, even though it's not healthy to keep carrying it around. I just mean that you clearly haven't moved on, he said, his grey eyes serious when they looked into mine. I blinked his look away. But I have moved on. I've started my own business, and it's going rather well, I added, proud that I was able to say that and know that it was true. George raised his dark blonde eyebrows. Aren't you growing flowers or something like that? Your mother said. I know what my mother said, I cut in before he could parrot one of her thoughts at me. I am the owner of Diana Flowers Blooms. I grow flowers and then sell them as bunches and bouquets to florists and at markets. I also produce flowers for events like weddings and funerals, I hastily added, not wanting George to imagine that I was thinking about anything.